Deuce Close. Mastering Madden.
Cover 4 match. After showcasing how good this defense can be, I think it's time to break down some of the ways to attack it. In this video, we'll go over the 7 best ways to attack cover 4, which include, high percentage 10 to 15 yard passes and even a few easy one-play touchdown. So that when you come up against a stubborn player that sits in it all game, you'll have an answer for it and you'll force them to switch out of it really, really quickly. A quick caveat before we get started though, this defense is brand new to the game and every few weeks it seems to get better. So if you're watching this, over a month from the release, I double check in practice mode to see if these concepts still work. Okay, right now we're in a bit of an interesting spot where the defense has gotten much better and more players are running it online, but it still has many flaws that we can exploit. Okay, and here they are. So the first one, and we'll try to go through these relatively quickly, and we might as well just go nickel normal, all of them, and we'll show it with cover 4 quarters and cover 4 palms because they are a little bit different, but they are pretty much the same. So all of these are gonna work for both of them. So cover 4 quarters, and the first one we're gonna go over is double moves. Okay, so I'm just gonna come up here, single back Y off trio, sluggo seam. There's many double moves that you can use. You can use the sluggo, you can use the chair route, you can use the hitch and go. Whatever you see, it's most likely gonna work. You might wanna test it out, but it's gonna work for you. So double moves have been an issue for the last 2 or 3 Maddens. Okay, so any sort of man coverage, regardless of the rating of the matchup with the wide receiver and the cornerback, that man defender, and again, cover 4 quarters and cover 4 palms are kind of pseudo man defenses. So they're going to bite on any quick breaking inside or outside route. And then once that wide receiver goes vertical again, he's going to get a nice step on him. Okay, so this is something that hasn't really been an issue because nobody's really been running man coverage. But now that more people are running cover 3 match, more people are running cover 4 match, this is going to become an issue. So we'll go ahead and show you how this works out. Now, actually, I think this matchup is bad. Randy Moss is way faster than the cornerback, so I'll just quickly change that. Okay, so I changed the cornerback and the wide receiver. So now we have Jerry Rice on Rod Woodson. They both have 93 speed, so we got a fair matchup there. And we're just going to put the defensive line on contain, and we'll just show you how well the sluggo will work here. And again, this won't matter on ratings. But you see we have a nice match, we have a nice separation there, and then if you can get, if you have a little bit of a speed advantage, you can, once you catch that, you can just kind of evade the diving cornerback, and then you'll be there for 6. Or you can wait a little bit longer, and you get a little bit more yardage, and you're going to get at least 40 or 30 or 50 yards or so. Okay, so you could kind of end the video right now. This is probably going to be your best bet. Any sort of these double moves, some might work better than the others, especially ones like this that kind of make their cut earlier on, and so you don't have to wait in the pocket as much longer. But anything that you find is going to work out for you. So maybe it's something that already in the formations that you use, and that'll be nice. So this is definitely an issue. This is not, how the coverage is intended to play, but while it's there, you might as well use it. And by the way, this is going to work against man coverage, cover 3 match, and see what I'm saying. If you can catch it with a little bit of space, you can quickly evade that dive, and then you can get that touchdown. Quick one thing I want to say about it is if you're not in a trip set, if you're in 2x2 or the double moves coming from the strong side, you might have a situation where you're going to have double team from the safety. Like in this case, like in a trips case, that safety on the solo side will not help out over top against that double move because that cornerback on him is kind of one-on-one there. But as soon as it becomes even or that double move is coming from the other side, and then you have, say, an underneath route for the slot receiver, then in that case, the safety might help out. And I think in this case, it's actually a weird situation where the quarter flat gets bugged out and he helps over the top. Something like that. And we should still be able to fit this in. So that's a weird kind of glitch there. The safety should be helping out over the top rather than the quarter flat. But you see what I mean there. So it's best if you can get him isolated, or if he's not isolated, put like a vertical route from the other receiver to keep those guys preoccupied. Okay, so that's just kind of a general tip going forward, is if you want to hit somebody deep on cover 4 match, put the other receivers on just curls, just so they're out of the way, but they're also preoccupying some of those deep quarter zones. Okay, so that's the double move. And yeah, I mean, I could go through all the double moves in the Saints playbook and we can show you that they all work, but I'm not going to waste your time. The second thing is, and let's get into it should be a formation here. Yeah, Y off trio weak. And that is the outside release go route that we have here on the strong side of stick. I did a few videos on this, touched on this a lot. If you're coming up against somebody that's running really any sort of press coverage, this is going to be huge for you. Okay, so this is an issue that might have been worked on a little bit in the last patch, but it's still a really, really big issue where if that cornerback's in press, and by the way, cover 4 press really, to really get the most out of cover 4, pressed corners is something you really want, like just in real football in general. So the fact that, stuff like this will negate the press means, you can't really run it. You can't really get the most out of cover 4 match. But, so you won't come up against too many people that are running cover 4 match press. But if you do, you're going to have this forced outside release go route that just goes right around that cornerback, and you should be fine. Again, what I was talking about before, just put these guys on some sort of vertical route to preoccupy that safety, and let's just spy or contain those ends. You'll see he just goes right around Deion Sanders, 10 yards of separation. We rat catch that, and we get ourselves easy touchdown. Okay, so if you ever see that, easy touchdown for you. What's good about it is even if it's not cover 4, if it's cover 3, that'll work. If it's cover 2, that'll work again, unless, they're protecting the sticks where they kind of bail there. But, if they're playing cover 4 to protect the sticks, they're already losing. Like, there's no reason they should ever be doing that. What's interesting, though, is that, and I can't do it to this side because the wide receiver is off the line of scrimmage, but you could actually even just throw a vertical route right at that cornerback. Again, on the left here, we're speed for speed, 93. And if I have a little bit of time, I should be able to hit it deep to my wide receiver right here. So you see that? Again, the cornerback here is 8 yards off. They have the same speed, and I was able to get behind him. Okay, so that's obviously, again, not intended. Technique of the cornerback is poor, where he's waiting too long to start running with the wide receiver, and by that time, the wide receiver's got to step on him. And even though that was tight coverage, like, believe it or not, like, if your opponent clicks on and they try to pick that, they're not going to get it. Okay, so you're going to get easy catch there by just rat catching that. If they are wise enough to try a swat, sometimes you can still catch that. Okay, the swat will be good if it's a good cornerback, but yeah, like what I'd do is I'd just wait for, I'm just going to have to contain these ends, wait for your wide receiver to get level with that corner and high point pass with a forward pass lead, and then just rat catch that when you get here. And again, if they don't swat that, you're going to get an easy catch there. Okay, so even if you don't have a double move, or you come out in a play and you sense that, it could be cover 4, then you just streak your wide receiver that's on the line of scrimmage, and there you go. That's an easy big gain right there. Or, if they're pressed up, you got that outside release go, that's going to be favorable for you. And to be honest, even if they're pressed, you could probably even get away with a vertical route, assuming you're not much slower. So let's just show that. Oh, in that case, the safety actually kind of helped out there. So that's a case where you'd want to have something underneath to preoccupy that safety. But if he wasn't there, you'd see we'd have that there too. Okay, so there needs to be still a lot of work in terms of the outside corners technique and how they deal with people sprinting right at them, and they're kind of starting a little bit too late. But in the meantime, you can definitely use that. Okay, so that's two really good ones right there. Again, like, that's almost all you need to just totally shut out your opponent. They're going to have to switch away because there isn't really anything they can do there. There's no adjustment that they can make there. So with the double move, the outside release go, and even just a vertical right at that corner, and assuming you're not outmatched at the corner from the corner, then you should be good to go. Other cool things I like to do. So empty tray. If we come out in any sort of empty set, and I'll just come out in verticals if I can find it. 4 verticals, and we go to cover 4 quarters. And running 5 wide receivers here isn't actually a big deal because they're not sending heat. If they're running cover 4 quarters or cover 4 palms, they're really relying on their 4-man or 3-man pass rush. So you don't really need to have an extra running back or whatever. Now, cover 4 quarters still has an issue where we're running on the trip side here. Say we have vertical routes for number 1 and number 2, and a streak, which is another vertical from number 3. Cover 4 quarters runs stress to that side. Sorry, not stress, solo. Meaning that this corner is man-to-man with the wide receiver, this straight safety is man-to-man with the slot here, and then this safety is man-to-man on anything vertical from the number 3 on the strong side. But in this case, you actually have 2 wide receivers on the weak side rather than a wide receiver and a running back. So then that means this safety is responsible for this wide receiver going vertical. So that means the duty then becomes that this 3 receiver hook has to take that tight end vertical. So there's two things that could happen there. The user could be on it, and they're not going to go all the way vertical with him. There's no way a user is going to do that. Or he's just too slow. Okay, so if you have a really fast tight end, or if that tight end's a wide receiver, like you could do this at a trips tight end and motion out the running back and create the same thing but you can have a wide receiver at the 3 rather than a tight end, and you should be good. So let's just go ahead and buy ourselves some time. And again, let's just put all these guys on curls here. And we'll show you the 3 receiver hook has to go with them. And then if we have enough speed, we can win that matchup. Or again, if the user is on this guy, let's just put him on there, and they don't think to cover him vertically, well, you have that up there as well. Now, another way that you can exploit this is put a slant from number 1 on the strong side. For whatever reason, there's still, pre-snap numbers of wide receivers aren't absolute. They change kind of during the play. And I think there's still some issues of how the defense is able to recognize that. So that 3 receiver hook is actually going to get confused by that slant because generally you would have to wall off anything going over the middle, and then he's going to leave that tight end going vertical. Okay, so we'll just show you how that works out here. 3 receiver hook gets confused, and your tight end is over here. I think what's happening is they're trying to, it switches off, and the cornerback leaves the slant because it is an underneath route. He shouldn't be man-to-man in most cases, but the 3 receiver hook here takes over, and I think this cornerback eventually tries to cover that tight end, but he's just way too far away. He's never going to make that play. So 5 wide is going to cause huge issues for cover 4 quarters. And I touched on this on my in my part 1 of the guide, where trips really, the solo check in cover 4 quarters really has issues with trips. So I urge people to run palms instead, and I just audible to palms where they're running special. And now you have this same thing, and it's dealt with much better. So you see everybody's covered. But luckily, since you're in 5 wide, and they're running palms, you have this situation where you can exploit the out and up on the other side, where you can have a fade from number 1 and just a flat right for number 2, forcing that outside corner to bite on that, to leave that streak. And if you throw it before that safety gets there, and if you throw it with a decent pass lead, you can turn that upfield and get yourself a one-play touchdown that way. Maybe actually this is better if you were to run the trips to the boundary, so you have more space here. So we're in palms. We just wait for this guy to bite down, catch it there, and we turn that upfield, and we got a touchdown. So 5 wide is really, really, really difficult right now for cover 4 to deal with. So really how I would suggest it is you would run it like this. Run it like this. So you would look on the left side to see if they're running palms first. So you'd see if that cornerback on the weak side is going to come down on that flat route. If he doesn't, it means they're in quarters and you've got that other side. So here, no, they're in quarters. We got the tight end. Okay, so it's not as easy as the sluggo or the double move where you're just literally chucking it, but it's something that really can't be stopped unless they kind of come out and cover 6 or do some of the adjustments I was talking about in the other video. Okay, so that's the 5 wide. What else do we got? We can attack, isolate, and attack the safety. So let's come out in a play like this. I think you've all seen this play. It's in Saints. It's probably in a few other books. This Saints drive out, or really this PA shot seams also works out. And we'll come back in quarters, and this is going to be the same for quarters and palms. Where if you come out in a situation where the safety is one man-to-man with the slot receiver, and the slot runs a corner or a post, it really is difficult on that safety to cover that. I think this works better to the boundary, but we'll just show it here, just like that. And you can try to turn that upfield and get yourself a touchdown there as well, if you have a little bit more speed from that slot receiver, like a Tyreek Hill or whatever. Let's show that again. Forward pass lead, rack catch that. Missed the catch, but you see where I'm kind of getting at here. So I think, because those safeties are flat-footed and those wide receivers are coming in at speed, whether you run a post or a corner route, it's really going to be tough for them. And this angle is really nice here, where it's enough of an angle to beat that defensive back, that safety, but it's not too much of an angle where he's not, upfield enough. Okay, so this is really just perfect, whether you find this from a corner or a post. The good thing about this one, where it's a corner, is that, if you have a user over here, he won't be able to help out with it like it would be like on a post. And also, or a situation where you didn't put vertical routes on these guys, and so the AI controlled safety over here will naturally come and double the post. So the corner works a lot better because there really is no help over there. It's really just him one-on-one on an island, and you can just torch him all day. Just like that. So, this is a good example of that, but you can just go find any really good corner routes or post routes. I think the post from halfback wheel from the New England Patriots playbook does it really, really well. But again, and then especially against, say, a cover 6 type of thing, where that deep half would help out. I would go with a corner, much rather than I'd go with a post. Okay, so again, like if you can find one from here, that's going to be really, really good money for you. And then, I could keep coming up with those, but again, I don't want to waste your guys' time too much. Other things you can do. The last 2 things before we wrap up here. Come out in 4 verticals, and these are just things that you can do with hot routes. Okay, other than, just a straight up vertical route. Other things you can do for a guaranteed yards. I kind of touched on this in my other part here. Comeback routes are not dealt with well by the cover 4 quarters. The quarter flat underneath there actually played really, really well. I'm surprised by that. Say if we do this to the field, where the quarter flat will never be able to get there. That break on that corner comeback route is just too much for that corner to deal with. no matter what matchup, if you have the worst wide receiver there, it's going to work out well for you. Okay, so if you need, if you really need that first down and you don't really want to have to mess with some of those deeper routes, you don't want to have to wait. The comeback route itself is also a bit of a wait, but it's another option for you out of many, many options. So let's just give ourselves time in the pocket here. Again, we can just run this all day long, just like that. And then sometimes you can turn that upfield and try to make that corner miss. So you can run that comeback all day long because, that if you have something here to preoccupy that quarter flat, I think even if you run something like this, that quarter flat will never really drift underneath that comeback. You can just throw that all day long. Last one I want to get to is, of course, crossers. Everybody loves crossing routes. There are, cover 4, and you still need to understand your matchups. In some cases, like the other side of the field will help out on certain crossers. Say like the one in trips tight end. If the opposite side corner has nothing to do, he actually does a pretty good job at picking up that deep crosser. But things we can do really, really simply, see out of a 2x2 set. I touched on this in my second video, where if we have just a mesh, just slant routes from these number 1s here, and just clear out routes from these slot receivers, and we have a little bit of time in the pocket, we should be able to get open pretty easily, just like that. Because those quarter flats don't do a good job at picking up crossers from the number 1. Okay, they'll do a great job at doing it from number 2 or number 3, but for some reason they kind of ignore the number 1. Okay, so if they're running straight cover 4 quarters or cover 4 palms, they're going to get burnt by it. If they're running cover 6, which I showed in the part 2 video, that it's not going to be really working for you because it does a much better job for whatever reason. But even something like this, or a drag on this side, or if you have a nice pre-built crossing route from the play, or if you have some of the route specialist chemistries, you can have the deeper crossing routes, and they just really, really struggle to handle that. Again, I had the wrong player, but you could even run that to either side. So just pick whatever side the user isn't on and just throw it to that other side. And this will work out a bunch. This will work out a trip sets, whatever you want, it's going to work out for you. Okay, so that's the 7 best ways to attack cover 4. They're all, I think, really, really good. Like even just the first 2 are going to force your opponent out of it. Some of the other ones, as these things start to get patched, say one of them doesn't work out, say like throwing the double move at it doesn't work out, you can cross that one off the list and you can just move to the next one. Okay, so I hope this video will stand for the next few months or so. Preferably it doesn't stand at all, because I love running the coverage. I think it's really, really great. This video is kind of goes against my best interest, where I like running the coverage, but now if everybody knows how to really easily beat it, then it's not good for me. But if I get this out there, maybe it can help you guys out with attacking it, because it can be tricky if you don't know what you're doing, and then maybe it can bring some of these issues to light. Okay, so again, double moves, the outside release go route, or just straight up running a streak right at that cornerback if your opponent doesn't know to swat. The 5 wide, where you can run the quarters beater or the solo beater on one side and the palms or the 2 read beater on the weak side. Attack the safety with post or corner routes, preferably a deep corner route where they'll have no help on the outside other than the boundary. But if you can squeeze that in, you're going to be golden. Comeback routes, the cornerback doesn't do a great job on that, and there's usually no help underneath unless your opponent knows some of the checks to look for, like I introduced in the other video. And then just crossing routes from number 1, or even sometimes it works out from number 2 or number 3. Okay, that's it for this one, guys. I really, really hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to drop a like. It helps me out, lets me know that you guys enjoy it and that you want more of it. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.